Hello YouTube, I'm back just to give you my views on having used the gear manager on iOS, just to show you what it looks like and how I found it. So I'm going to take you through that in this video. The first thing I'll talk about is the main menu. So if you download the app, in my first impressions video I showed you where the app was and how to get it on the day that it was actually out. So there it is. If I click into that, that's what it looks like, and I'll just show you in comparison to Samsung devices. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference there in that this side starts with about gear and then goes into battery storage, RAM. And what I like about the Samsung version is that I can clear the RAM if I want to. I can, look at what's eating up the space and remove it if I don't want it. And on here I can't do that on the iPhone. And if I click into this, let me show you what comes up. So the thing I'm blocking is just my email address, but that's what comes up. And if I click into gear storage, I'll show you that as well. If I go into gear storage, that's what comes up. So, it doesn't actually allow me to clear the RAM or clear some of the unused stuff, which I can do on the Samsung version. So that's the first thing I thought I'll show you there in terms of the menu. If I go into settings, which is the other tab at the top there, that's what it looks like. Let's compare that to this. So let's just check there's no, yeah, so you can see that is grayed out on the Samsung because it's not paired at the moment. I've only paired it to the iPhone. So you can see there the differences in terms of the menu. I'm certainly seeing that the iPhone menu is limited in terms of what you can do, and I'll go through some of the limitations in a minute. But this is what you get with the Samsung and iPhone. If you look at watch faces here, I can style, I can add, and I can uninstall, and I can't see an option to do that on the iPhone version. What you can do is apps you can reorder, you can uninstall. In fact, I quite like that it gives you that, because what you can do with the apps is this. So on the iPhone, I didn't actually think you would get this much freedom for the iOS version, but you can. So if I want to move contacts, I can just go on the side here, hold it, and you can see it's moving up there as well. So if I do this, and if I wanted it on the other phone, on the other clock face, I just go down, 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 and down again, and you see it's moved over to number 2, and it's moving. So you got that freedom as well to do that in iOS, which I didn't think you could, but they're thinking about you guys as well. So that's that. The only other thing I just wanted to talk about, if I go back, I'm saying that you can't style. So you can't, this one gives you an option that says stylize there, so you can style the watch faces. But even though you don't have this option on iOS, you can actually do it on the watch itself. Let me see if I can demonstrate that. So I'll bring this down a bit. So if I go this, if I press and hold, see there's the option to stylize there. And what it means really is I can press that button, and you can see it's the face is sort of bluish. If I go that, it's sort of whitish. There you go, proper white. So what you can get is different styles, which is what you can do on the watch itself. So don't despair if you don't have the option to do it in the actual menu. You can always do it on the clock face itself, and I think most of the watch faces will let you do that. So that's the first thing. The other thing I just wanted to talk about is transferring music. I'm not going to actually demonstrate it. I'll just show you what you're able to do with Samsung. So with Samsung, if you just press send content to gear here, if it's connected, it will take you through music, tracks and photos, and all you do is just select. You select them and you press send or something like that, and they go to the gear. So that's the option I use to upload music to my gear. I tried to do the same with the iPhone, and I was surprised because it's not that easy. You see, you get all this. You gotta go and open the music app and do all sorts of things and shenanigans, and I just thought this was too much. In case you want to read it at your leisure, let me just take you through the whole thing slowly. So there you go. You can pause and look at it yourself later. So instead of just being simple, you know, select the music you want that's on the phone, press send, that's it, done. I get all this. So I wasn't impressed, but I'm not an iPhone person, so it's just for the iPhone people out there to be aware that you got to go through this. Unless if you know of a different way, then let us know in the comments. There you go. So that's one of the things I just wanted to show you about the music that's kind of annoying. The most annoying bit I found was that there's actually no messaging app on the gear when you're using your iPhone. So, you know, when I use this on my Samsung, if I go into apps, one of these will be it'll be that typical envelope icon that shows that I can send messages, and it's yellow. And if you look in my previous videos, you see that the app is actually there. But as soon as I've installed the iOS version, the app is gone. So what this means is you can't actually send any messages. You can't do SMS texting at all. So basically the function is not there. And if I show you this, if I just do, hopefully this works. Hi Gear, send a message to Tom.
I'm unable to process your request.
Okay, let's try that again.
Try again later.
I'll put it closer to my face and see if that makes any difference. Send message to Tom. I think something's playing up with my Wi-Fi. This usually works, you know, I demonstrated S voice working. I think my Wi-Fi is playing up. But what I will say is that the, in fact, it might not be Wi-Fi. It might be the Bluetooth is disconnected again. Anyway, what I wanted to show you was that if you do that, it will say SMS service not supported or something like that. So you can't actually send any messages. And if you receive a message, I think my notifications have gone. If you had a message in here, what you could do, the options you get, you know, if you know, when you went on my Samsung phone, and I showed you in the other videos that you can actually have the option to reply, the option to send as a smiley face or emoji or whatever. You don't get that here. You're able to read the message, so you can open it up and you can read it, but you can't reply. The two options you get are to close the notification or to block the notification. And I've noticed that's the trend with WhatsApp, with Facebook. You still get to see the message, but you can't do anything about it except the two options to either close or block. So pointless, really. It's very limited. I don't know if it's Samsung's way of saying, well, you should get a Samsung device or another Android device or something like that that works with this. But they seem to have limited what iOS can do. Okay, so that's that. I don't need to rant too much about it because I have got my Samsung phone, which I use with that, so it's not a problem for me. The calls have been working well. The only thing I wanted to show you, which is a bit strange again, but those of you who are using this, you already know. So if I go into Bluetooth, you see those two things that come up there. So initially when I set this up, I only had the top one that says, and it said connected, and I thought, okay, fine. Then I tried to make calls, and then it says, make sure that both are connected. And I'm thinking, well, what do you mean both? Because I've only got one phone. But what you got to do is make sure that these two things are there, and they say connected. If they're not both connected, you won't be able to make calls. So that's one thing that I thought, you know, it's a bit strange that you got to sort of connect twice. And while I'm here, I might as well talk about the dropping off or in connection. I have never, in my whole time, I've used my gear from November on my Samsung device, on my Galaxy Edge. I have never had any dropout in connection whatsoever. But with this thing, with the iOS version, it's like that's the norm. So it drops out quite a lot, and sometimes when I've got S Health connected, it said last paired 8 hours ago, and I'm trying to pair, and it says no device connected. It's just not that user friendly. So you can guess the frustration that you go through if you have an iOS device. So yeah, I would suggest that you get a device that works and you get the maximum benefits from using it, and that's the Android version. The iOS one looks like it still needs some work. It's still a bit laggy. Sometimes I try and open up some functionalities and they don't work. So yeah, but yeah, be sure to connect these two if you want to make calls. So let's try and make a call to Pizza Hut and see what happens. I am gonna do that from the watch. So if I just go into apps, I normally have a shortcut for these things if you look in my videos, but I didn't think I would be making a call, but I want to do that now. So if I go, where's the call feature? So if I go phone and I just go, I think you have to press that as well. Aha. Hello, I was just checking what time you're open till today.
10.
And is there any parking around where you are?
Yeah, we've got a huge parking car park.
Okay, thanks very much for that.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, bye. So there you go. The calls actually work. I mean, I've been talking to the missus all day on this, and it works. So yeah, there's no problem with making calls. That's it. I'll just talk about S Health before I go so that you can see, again, one of the other frustrations that they are. So if you have a Samsung device, what you can do with S Health is, there, have it as a standalone item. So if I click on S Health, it takes me through the stuff there. Let me bring this up a bit. Okay, so that's S Health there. It's a standalone app. And when you go here, I actually tried to search for this in the App Store, and I couldn't find it. So it's not standalone. That's the first thing. Second thing is, to get to it, you got to press the gear itself and then go here. You can do the same on the Samsung device, but it's just simpler if it was a separate app, because then I could refresh it differently and that kind of stuff. But anyway, I used it to measure my sleep last night, so I put the gear on all night. You can see it does work. You can see my steps I've done today. I went jogging in the morning, and I also did a bit of walking. So you can see that it actually works. As I say, the only thing that was frustrating is that wasn't working. So I've actually had to pair it again, even though it's already paired, because the connection dropped. So I've had to sit down, go back to the iPhone menu in Bluetooth, and then click connect again to try and connect to make the connection live. But you can see that the functionality is there. The heart rate, it's auto on the Gear S, Gear S3. So it just records as you go. You can see how many times it's done it already. You know, when I was doing my exercises, it was just recording. It's on my wrist. I don't have to press anything. It just does it. So the functionality is there. However, again, as you expect, it's very limited. I mean, if I went into the settings, again, I'll just block my email address, but that's what you get there. I suppose it's not too different from the main menu here. So if I go into settings, so it's sort of similar really in what you get, except you don't have those connected services, and I'll show you what those are in a minute. But basically you have the same. You don't have that detect workouts option on the iPhone, on the iOS version, but actually you can do that from the watch itself, so that's not a problem. You can do that from the watch. So I'll just show you. If I press connected services, that's what you get. You don't have that here as an option on the iPhone. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else I can show you. So the other thing I just wanted to show you is the options you have. So you can see if I press on the Samsung version, if I press there, those dots, those are kind of the options you get. You can manage items. This is one of the things I like about this is if I click into manage items, you can choose what gets displayed and what doesn't get displayed. So it's up to you really. So you can choose, and once you choose what you want, that's what comes up here. I couldn't find an option to do that in the iOS version. So you got this stuff here. What if I don't want this coffee and water stuff here? How do I remove it? And if I go into settings, all I'm getting is that menu that I showed you earlier. So there's not enough richness in terms of the menu. Whereas if I press this, settings are there, but you get other stuff. You can see you can do other things. So the menu is a bit limited, but that's sort of what you get with the iOS version. So I suppose that's my my verdict on it. It's a bit limited, still more work to be done. And the fact that you can't message is just it's problematic for me. Sometimes even if I'm jogging, I just talk to the gear, and I just tell it to send a message to somebody, and it does it. And you don't have that functionality here, so it means you have to stop, you have to go back on your phone. And the whole idea is to try and have the standalone features, and also to use more of your non-touch, so your voice, to do stuff. But yeah, so that's my verdict there. Let me just see if there was anything else I was gonna update. Oh yes, so usually when I'm doing activities, so if I'm going jogging, I would have so I'll go in here, for example, and I would put in the activity I want to do, and I'll say okay, start. And the activity starts, it does a countdown, and it tells me that I've got to run. All this works fine, by the way. But if I click left and go left like this, so if I'm going anti-clockwise, normally it gives me the music option here, so that if I'm running and doing my activity, I also have the chance to control the music. That wasn't on, that's not on in the iOS version, but on the Samsung version, it's there because obviously, if you're going to do an activity, you want to be listening to your music, and it makes sense to put it into one app. And there's always a shortcut there, and that's one of the things that annoyed me, because I did actually go jogging and walking today, and I had to sort of fiddle with the watch to get the music to play, whereas usually it's quite straightforward. So yeah, I just thought I'll raise that. In terms of activities themselves, let's stop this. Finish workout. In terms of activity tracking and all that, if you look in my previous videos relating to Samsung devices, it's exactly the same. S-Health works brilliantly. So, you still have the options to choose the... I'm not going to go into this because I've already done it in another video, but you can choose all these, and they work brilliantly on this, on the iOS version as well. So there's no problem there. The only other major thing I need to tell you guys is that I went in the App Store, so iOS version, went into the Gear Manager and looked for apps. not very many apps out there for the iOS version. So if you were looking for watch faces that you're used to in the Samsung version, if you're looking for some apps, like I've got this camera app that I can sort of use my gear to look at, to control my camera on my phone, those types of things don't exist currently for iOS. So it's very limited on apps, and you will see that. I couldn't actually get a navigation app as well. So I tried to find something I could use for navigation. You know that Samsung brought it with the gear when they sell the gear. But when I installed the iOS app, it removed it. So it was nowhere, the Maps app had gone. So I'm not sure how you're supposed to navigate with the iOS version. So yeah, disappointing really. That's my verdict. Thank you guys, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section, and I'll try and test things out and reply to you. Thank you. Have a nice day.